Hello to everyone in the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral community. This is Father Jonathan. I hope you're doing well. We want to remind everyone that you can reach out to us at the office. All calls will be forwarded to the priest that you'd like to speak to. You can email us. There's new features on our website to ask for special prayers, whatever we can do to help. Although we won't be able to have people at the church itself for services, we're working on live streaming these services through Facebook already, but we're hoping that if we get enough subscribers, we can start broadcasting it live through YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that as soon as possible so that we can get this content and the services out to those who need it. I want to continue our discussion, our meditation on the book of the Psalms, and I want to read another psalm. This psalm is Psalm 89 in the Septuagint or Orthodox numbering, and Psalm 90 in other Bibles. And I'll begin by reading it, and then from there we'll discuss some of those elements that might speak to our present situation. It begins, O Lord, you became a refuge to us in generation and generation, before the mountains were made, and before the earth and the world were formed. And from everlasting to everlasting you are. Do not let man be turned back to humiliation. And you said, return, you sons of men, for 1,000 years in your sight is like yesterday which has passed, and which, like a watch in the night, years be objects of contempt to them. In the morning let man pass like grass. In the morning let him blossom and pass by. In the evening let him fall off, be dried up and withered. For we fainted in your wrath, and in your wrath we were troubled. You set our transgressions before you, our time in the light of your face, for all our days are failed. And in your wrath we fainted, our years were spent in thought like a spider. For the days of our years, their span is 70 years, but if we stay strong, perhaps 80, and more of them are labor and pain. For meekness came upon us, and we shall be chastened. Who knows the power of your wrath, and who knows your anger because of your fear? So make known your right hand to us, that we may number our days, and our hearts may be bound with wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long? And be entreated concerning your servant. We were filled with your mercy in the morning, and in all our days we greatly rejoiced and were glad. Gladden us in return for the days you humbled us, for the years we saw evil things, and behold your servant and your works. Guide their sons, and brighten, and the brightness of the Lord our God be upon us, and prosper for us the works of our hands. We find ourselves in a time when we're really seeking God. And sometimes we might wonder, where is God in all of this? It feels like perhaps we call upon him and he's not answering. But we know that our God, as the psalm says, is our refuge in generation and generation. God is always there for us. And for God has been there forever, before the mountains were made, before the earth and the world were formed. God was. And we may find ourselves wondering when our prayers will be answered, when we will no longer be living in the fear of, in this case, the coronavirus, when we will be not worried about whether or not we can go out, worried about our businesses. And it's not a comfort necessarily to know that God is there, but for God, a day, 1,000 years is like a day in his sight. And so time works differently when we look on divine scales. And it may not give us solace in times when we're fearful about the present. But we know that God is always sustaining his creation. We are sustained by his very being. And so when we cry out to God, in times of struggle, we know that he's here. We know that he's there with us. We just don't know exactly how he's going to respond to us. We live any number of years. It says in here that our years are 70, and if we have strength, maybe 80. With contemporary medical science, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we find ourselves living for a period of time, and God, throughout that time, is sustaining us and sustaining all of creation. And even when we're struggling and sick, God is there present with us. For all things are under his care, and all things are guided by his providence. And again, we find ourselves in a time of uncertainty. And in a time of uncertainty, perhaps the best thing that we can do is to call upon the one who is unchanging, who is steadfast in his love. So as we think about the day-to-day life, the struggles, the fears, the concerns, offer them up to God, who is our foundation and our fortress. God who will sustain us in all things, even if we don't know how that will look, or even if it looks differently than we would have hoped. God will offer us precisely what we need. Amen. Again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us. We are ever available 24/7. You can give us a call. You can call the office and reach out to each of us individually through that system. You can email us, send us messages on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram. We will get to you with everything you need. Don't hesitate to reach out to us for whatever your needs are. We're here for you. We love you. We're praying for you. God bless.